Jesse Lundberg is the creator and artist for the series Harold the Happy Human Eater. The all ages comic book has a pretty powerful message, and that message is different doesn't need to be scary. He talks with us on the success of the series and also collaborating with his wife, Margaret, who is the writer of the ongoing story. He also provides us with some good tips and advice on how to also be effective in doing commission pieces. So graphic designers, cartoonists, and fans of the medium will get a lot out of this interview. So Jesse is with us, and Jesse is a graphic designer and cartoonist hailing from New Hampshire, and he has one of the more successful people that I know that has done really good work with doing commissions. He's also does a lot of graphic design stuff on the side. And also, if you see behind me, he's also the half of the team, because your wife is the writer of it, is Harold the Happy Human Eater. And we'll probably talk a little bit about where the creation of that came from. But so before we dive right into how you work, do you want to tell the listeners and also the viewers on your background and how you got started in doing this type of art?
Oh, okay. You didn't warn me about this part. No, I'm actually originally from Vermont, so I'm from the southern part of the state. I always was interested in doing art in general. I was told that in kindergarten, when they asked, what you wanted to be when you grew up, my answer was illustrator, which was kind of interesting for that age. You had people being like, I want to be doctor, policeman, fireman, illustrator. So it kind of stuck with me for a while. I went on to go to Colby Sawyer College in New London. And that's where I got a BFA in graphic design. And from there, I started doing some commission work on the side and such. What led me to doing like comics and Comic-Con stuff was literally I was at my mother-in-law's store. She has a place called The Studio in Laconia. And this was when she was at not her first locale, but her second place. She used to do more of a like a art studio with a boutique shop attached type of thing to try to kind of make sales and help keep as a business. And since then it's gone away from doing art shows and stuff like that. She'll still have musicians and stuff inside the boutique, but I was at an art opening and I was just doing a little doodle, and that's where Harold actually was born. Is I was doing like this sad mopey zombie, and actually I think it's in the front cover of issue 1. There's a little drawing there, and it was just done with Sharpies on junk newsprint paper. And if you see me at conventions, I don't talk a lot. I can talk, obviously. I usually have my nose down in a pad of paper doing something, and I'm not easily distracted from it. But so I was sitting there, I was drawing that. She ended up hanging it up on the wall, and some people started questioning like what it was, because it was next to the cash register at the time, and it was like a sad little zombie with a flower, and it said different doesn't need to be scary, which is kind of the motto of the entire series. And that led to doing some like Far Side type Gary Larson one-shot little, hey, this is what I would find funny if a zombie was in your normal day-to-day life. Like, oh, I've got the neighbor over there. He's a doctor, and then I've got the one over there, and he's a zombie, like that type of deal. Like, just nobody cares much about it. He keeps to himself, doesn't eat too many people, and so like I had a meeting like Rob Zombie saying, "Hey, I'm a big fan," and spoofing on Walking Dead and stuff like that. And reading an issue of Walking Dead and being shocked, like little silly things like that. I took that to a free comic book day in Rochester. That was the first event I ever did. And then people were like, "Oh, this is funny. I kind of want more of a story." So issue 1 was drawn in less than a week. And I can say that they progressively took longer and longer to do. Seeing how I'm on the issue, but the last issue that we have put together has been about 2 years. I'm slow on that end. The thing being is I've picked up a lot more commission work, and that comes first. So that's kind of what got me to here. And I met you through Vermont Comic Con. Yep.
So talk to us about that's interesting, is that so that Harold the Happy Human Eater started, as you said, as a little sketch that you put together. And
yep, it's actually in the front cover there.
Okay.
Yeah, the front. Yeah. Should be a little picture of it.
Yeah, right there. Okay, yeah, I see it. Yep.
Yeah, it was like the B cover. Like I made like a B cover of the original little sketch. Looks nothing like him now. He evolved. But,
and so you went from you putting that together. How did you actually decide? Because right now you have, well, I got it's 4 issues so far. I got all 4 issues, right?
You're missing 4.
Oh, is it 8 already?
I'm up to issue 8. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
8
so,
with a ninth one that is sitting on my computer just gathering dust. If you could digitally gather dust.
So
but
do
yeah,
you?
It's
So do you have? Sorry. Do you have? So you sat down. How did it decide when you said that? Well, let's turn these little one-shot Gary Larson type, what one box comics into an entire series. And like, how did you decide to kind of flesh out the background? How did you build that world that really started with these little comic strips?
That's a darn good question, because I think we're still building it. We really kind of fly by the seat of our pants. Like, I do not have I obviously have a beginning, but I don't have an end to the story. I mean, the way we have them written is, there's kind of a thread throughout them, but you could pick up almost any issue, and as long as you get, the zombies work alongside humans, you can really read any issue and not feel super lost. And I think that's because we are literally flying by the seat of our pants. Yeah. I helped write the first one just because it was my, the character. I think I might have helped write the second one too, but Margaret's better with words. Having an English degree, and I just draw pictures. But I had the idea, we definitely spun off of the different half. Doesn't have to be scary. We wanted him to kind of represent any type of person that may feel like they're kind of an outcast, realizing that, you've got people who have some form of a disability or something that can relate to the different, doesn't need to be scary aspect of it is, okay, I might be missing an arm, but that doesn't mean I'm any less human. Or I may have a learning disability or something like that, but that doesn't make me less of a person because of having this disability, or however you want to put it. So we were like, well, what would put him in a position to be able to spread that type of philosophy. And we thought, well, a high school guidance counselor. Everyone's had a high school guidance counselor. So they're used to that kind of interaction between an adult, kids, adults, and why they would want to have those conversations. So that's kind of where we went with that, is he was a high school guidance counselor, because like I said, everyone's had some form of a guidance counselor at one point, it seems like. I remember having one in elementary school, and maybe less so in high school, if that was more of taken over by like a homeroom teacher or something like that. But we figured that was the easiest way to create a relationship with that character. The reason why he acts more human is he wasn't bitten. A kid that had been infected with the virus, which was done through fast food, because we thought, hey, what would be the quickest way to get rid of, or what would be the quickest way to spread a virus would be through some form of fast food. How many billions of hamburgers have been sold by McDonald's? So we created Wicked Burger. And so it was the upside down W. It's a W instead of the M, the golden arches. So we were just trying to, create it so that it was almost had some form of a real world aspect to it. Like, oh, this could happen if zombie viruses were real. Here we are in the middle of a pandemic going, oh. So yeah, and then each issue just kind of has a central theme to it. Like, what one of them is talking with, well, what if a boyfriend and a girlfriend? What if maybe the boyfriend became a zombie and the girlfriend stayed human? Are zombies still allowed to have relationships? Like dealing with that type of thing. Yeah. So, trying to make real world aspects to it. But and each issue is just like the one that is still, like I said, digitally collecting dust, has to deal with Harold going to the gym teacher who doesn't see a problem in doing dodgeball and separating it, humans versus zombies. Well, the zombies are slower moving and reacting because of the virus, so they're getting, bombarded constantly and losing every single time. And he's like, well, don't you think that you should maybe spread the teams out a little bit more evenly, or maybe play something that doesn't require a lot of fast reflexes, because they're just getting pummeled. So things like that.
But comparing like Harold the Happy Human Eater to some of our friends and peers, their storylines, I think it's what makes Harold stick out is that there's a pretty powerful message in it. So where other people have really good stories to tell, this one has a really powerful message to it, which I think is great. And I think, one of them specifically, as you say, it's talking about that being different isn't bad. And you tackle issues of prejudice on here. You tackle issues of making sure that people belong to a community. And did you have, as you talked about it, did you have any specific group in mind that you wanted to have it be about, like any disenfranchised group, or is it something that, because it's opened up enough where I think anybody can kind of see themselves as
that
being Harold?
Yeah, we left it fairly open for interpretation. And like I said, with the tagline, different doesn't mean to be scary. Well, is the difference a disability? Is it a race? Is it an orientation? Is it, a religious view or something like that? You know, we want it to be open enough. Like, yeah, they do talk about specific things in each issue, but hopefully the message is open enough. It's like, when talking with the boy about, him and his girlfriend, and is it okay for him to still be dating because he's a zombie? That could be, you could replace it as a girlfriend with him and his boyfriend, or, we just, put boyfriend, girlfriend, but it could be, what if one person's family is extremely religious compared to someone who's not, or of a different religion or a different race, different backgrounds in general. So yeah, we put in those issues certain storylines, but we try to keep it open enough that you can go, oh, I relate to this way. And we've had people come up to us and say, hey, this really stood out to me because of this, and this. And, it's different for each reader. And we've had people, I've had 8-year-olds and stuff reading it. So, we don't say that, that there's an age limit to it. We don't dumb down the words. We don't make them, I hate to say dumb down, but we don't oversimplify the message. So, some kids may have harder time grasping some of like the meanings of them. Like, there's one issue that we do that it's literally it's about one of the, actually it's behind you, I see it. It's the one with the elephant toothpaste, and making a huge mess, and that one has to deal more with the antagonist of the story, the janitor, who doesn't like zombies because they're making his world dirty, and him having an altercation with one of the science teachers who is a zombie and has, because of his inability to react quick enough, one of the kids made a huge mess with a thing called elephant toothpaste, is what it was described to us. And we actually went to one of our friends who was a chemistry teacher in high school, and we're like, hey, we're looking for something that could easily make a huge mess if not properly, supervised. And she goes, oh, I got just the thing for you. And she literally gave us like all the reasons why, and we put that into it. So it's scientifically accurate, and it's like endothermic reaction and blah blah blah, and that it's scientifically accurate. We didn't need to be, but we did. And so there might be some things that are harder to understand if you're 6, 7, 8 years old, but you can at least go, oh, it made a big mess, that's funny.
You're right, because it's an all ages comic, I think, which is very interesting. Yeah. And do you have you ever thought about doing something along the lines of making this doing a children's book version of this at all? Because there's some, as I say, there's some really powerful messages that are said in this.
I mean, we haven't really thought about that. We have thought about other types of children's books and stuff like that. Margaret writing, and I doing more, obviously the illustrating. But it could easily be something that is turned into a children's book. And yeah, I'd totally be interested in doing something like that too. It'd be a lot simpler to draw. A lot less work on my part.
So for those that haven't read or looked at Harold the Happy Human Eater, where can they find copies of the book, of your issues?
Oh, well, they have been in Double Midnight Comics in Concord and Manchester, New Hampshire. I believe there's still some in Jetpack. I don't know where they are, but they were there um, at one point. Um, the best way is to go on to like Lundberg Graphics, or I have a Herald. Facebook, which, to be honest, I haven't touched in a while just because of commission work. Um, yeah, one of those. It's like a good thing, but a bad thing, but a good thing. So yeah, you can directly contact us, and we can ship them out, or conventions whenever those resume.
So you
Hopefully soon.
so if they find you on Facebook, they can actually send you a message to say that we would like all 8 copies, and you
Oh
would
yeah,
ship
yeah,
them out?
and like I usually do bundle pricing, so
Okay.
yeah, save a little bit there. I think issue 7 has a little panel that I draw a little sketch in for whoever buys it. They can all be signed, sketched. You know, you could pay me and tell me to throw them out. I don't care.
So I would, as I would say, like, yeah. So Harold the Happy Human Eater is a really good story with some really good messages for kids and adults alike. It's, as you say, different doesn't mean scary. So,
Yeah.
And for this, for those that are interested, like, you can find Jesse. You can do a search for Lundberg Graphics, and you're gonna be able to find him. Send him a message. As he said, he can bundle those up and send them your way. And I enjoy it. I know that it's accessible, and I think that's really good. Is that it's your style, and we'll talk about your style in a little bit. But your style itself is accessible for adults and kids alike. It's friendly, it's welcoming, and but it's also extremely professional at the same time. So, but you mentioned before that you mentioned earlier that you've been working a lot on doing commission work. And
Yeah.
you want to talk to us about that? Talk to people that who are also the people who watch this and people who listen to this are also artists. They're also people who love cartooning and stories. And so tell us a bit about how you got into doing commission work.
Yeah. Trying to think of how I went about it. I mean, for the graphic design end of things, it's been, searching for people that are looking for logos and business collateral. Like I've done, logos and collateral work for, your local hometown magician who does fairs and stuff, up to institutes of higher learning. So I've done, flea circus illustrations. I've done business cards for executives and stuff like that. So pretty much, anything that you can think of, I've done something for it. As far as like clientele, I've done stuff for charities, charitable organizations. Yeah. those came about. I'm trying to remember how some of those came about. Some of it was, friend recommending me. Other ones where they saw me doing some work at like a newspaper that I used to work for. So they knew me through that, because I used to work for a couple local newspapers doing advertisements and pagination, page layouts and such like that. So they've at least seen my name in print and such, as a graphic designer. So a lot of those came through that type of stuff, and word of mouth, a lot of word of mouth. As far as like fine art commissions and comic art commissions, a lot of it comes from conventions. So not being at conventions is being kind of painful. But But I put up a special on my Facebook saying, hey, I'll do these types of drawings. I have no overhead because I'm not paying for a table, I'm not paying to drive there, eat, all that stuff. It's just me at my kitchen table or my drafting table downstairs. So I could offer them a little bit cheaper, and all you have to do is pay shipping. And I've picked up quite a few through that. One of my friends, I did one for, mailed it down to her. She posted it up on one of her Instagram groups, and it was a picture of She-Hulk reading a book and lifting a barbell over her head. She's into fitness, so I did that, sent it down. She posted that to that fitness work group, and in under a day, it had over 1,000 likes. I've gotten 25, 30 commissions out of it. Like, so, sometimes, and 25 of them are from one person. Like, they wanted me to do a series for them. So, things like that. A lot of it, again, was through conventions, and then those people following me because of the conventions. And when I put up sales, like I'll do sketch cover sales, and I'll do 11 by 17 battle scenes or something like that, people then message me about that, or they'll give them to someone as a gift, and then that person, because I include my business card with everyone, they contact me about wanting to do another piece also. So it's a little bit about just kind of putting yourself out there. One aspect that I think helps me is when I'm at conventions, I usually draw on the spot, and I can have something for you to walk away with within an hour or so. So that helps. I don't usually take things home unless it's the guy comes by at 5 minutes till the convention closes for the entire weekend and says, hey, I've got this idea. I'm like, that's great. Can I mail it to you? And they'll say yeah.
You do talk about too. You do advertise that for those that ask for some commission work. Give us some examples of what types of commission work you do.
Oh, I mean, I will do anything that you. I will basically draw anything you want me to. And yeah, I do. When I'm at conventions, I do something called art a la carte. That's what we call it, where we try to create a piece of artwork within your budget. You have a lot of people who are like, headshot $50, full body 75, and there's no wiggle room. It's they'll be done in gray tones. It will be $50. You will get a shoulder and a head. You don't get any direction, nothing like that. You just walk up and be like, Spider-Man, $50. Walk away and hope to come back in an hour and have it. Mine, and I have no problem with people who do that. That's perfectly fine. That's on them. And I have paid for things like that. So I'm not above that at all. I try to make it so that everybody who wants to own original art has the means in which to do it. So if someone comes up to me and is like, hey, I got $15, but I really love Groot or something like that, I'll be like, all right, well, I can do you a pencil sketch with a little bit of ink, and that'll be $15. Is that cool with you? Yeah, that's fine. So I'll do it. If someone comes up and is like, well, I only have $20, but I want 11 by 17 and blah, 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 and like giving me a lot of art direction, I might be like, I can't really do it for that. But, I try to at least, if they give me a budget, I try to put something out that they are going to be happy with, and I'm not feeling like I'm working for nothing. It's finding that balance between, I don't want to I can't afford to give this stuff away because, materials and my time costs me. If I'm at a convention, most of the convention tables, I don't know if anyone who doesn't deal with conventions realize that, the average is like $150 just for the table. And that's just for you to sit there. Like, you have to have materials to sell, and you have to have books, and, Barney knows what I'm saying. He's chuckling, going, yeah, people don't realize that. Like, we're not all the big guys that come in and just sit down and are given money to be there. It costs us money to be there, and we at least like to try to break even. um, um, Giving out the not really trade secrets because they advertise it right on their websites that it costs money to be there, and we get it. We're renting a spot. But I at least try to make it so everyone's happy. I'm happy that I don't feel like I'm giving the art away for free, but it really makes me happy knowing that someone can walk away with a piece of artwork. And some of those people that I've done 15-minute quick sketches for, or not $15 like quick sketches, not 15 minutes. Sometimes they come back and they want something bigger, or they remember you and they come up and talk to you and stuff like that and interact, and they'll be like, oh, well, I showed my friend this and they're interested. So you never know where your little bit of kindness to be like, yeah, I want you to have an original piece of art will eventually take you. You could end up landing a really big commission. Obviously don't go into it expecting that, but it's always a nice return. But yeah, that's how I deal with commissions, or do commissions. Another, if you are thinking about taking them on, don't take on too many. You need to be able to get these things out in a reasonable time. If, like, I try with some of them that I've been coming in, it's helped that I'm in quarantine. So I have some extra time, but, I try to get them out within a week, week, maybe 10 days. And that's from pencils to full color and shipped. And another aspect I think people like is, I'll ask them, do you want me to do this live on Facebook so you can watch it being drawn? I had one that I sent out to, I think it was Ohio. And the guy found me on some forum or something, and he's like, hey, I want to do a Venomized Joker. Like, cool, I love those characters. Let's do it. And I asked him if he wanted it Facebook Live. He said, yeah, that'd be awesome. So I've never met this person, but he has watched me draw at my kitchen table. And I, did the pencils, did the inks, did the colors, mailed it off to him. Super happy. So it's fun doing those type of interactions. But yeah, if you're gonna take them on, make sure that you don't overdo it. Make sure you can get them out in a timely manner would be my suggestion, because I had 2 commissions, one this week and one last week, where I was in the middle of doing one of the commissions. I was almost done with it, and then they came back and were like, hey, I got another idea. So I got a second commission out of it and was able to ship them both together to save the person money on shipping.
Oh, wow. Amanda Call just mentioned, she said that you are a machine. So, and Mike Wagner, our friend, yeah, Mike Wagner mentioned that you did draw him a sweet Diablo. So
I still have that sweet Diablo. I think I still have that. I need to get it to him. I have like this little binder that we did. What was it? Inktober. And one year I did just all of the a whole bunch of friends' characters for each day. Like, I didn't follow necessarily. No, I did follow the prompts, but I found people's characters that matched.
So
That was the
talk.
point.
So talk to us about the actual work itself, like your method of how you do that. Do you do a lot of analog or digital? I mean, do you do a lot of sitting down, drawing it out? You mentioned you draw some stuff out. Do you do anything digital? Do you digitally color, or how? Walk us through one of your works.
Okay. Well, I've recently bought a iPad Pro, which has definitely helped. I'll doodle constantly, and I've got a lot of stuff that I draw by hand and then I tidy up digitally. But I actually had a couple pieces where I did digital layouts, then printed them, hand inked them, so I have something if anyone ever wanted to buy that piece, I have a physical piece that has been worked on. And then like digitally color. I do a lot of hand coloring, and anything that you commission from me, unless excuse me, you specifically ask for it digitally colored or something like that, it's going to become done with Copic markers and watercolors and pit pens and stuff like that. So so I can actually show you. Let me see one process. So I just did this for a friend's comic that was going to originally be done for Ace Comic Con as an exclusive for a preview edition. So I got this thing knocked out in like a week, and then Ace got canceled.
So, so for those that are be listening to this as a podcast, can you just narrate what we're looking at?
Yeah. So it's a cover for a friend of mine's comic called Surrounded by Death. It's written by Johnny C. If you've been to any New England comic convention in the last, I don't even know, 8 years plus, probably for him, you've probably ran into him. You've definitely heard him because he's very loud. He's a good friend. So he has issue 2 coming out of his comic, and I was talking to him about, hey, I'd really love to do something with you sometime. And he was like, oh, why don't you do a variant cover, like a special edition cover for the preview edition? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with that. And it has to do with zombies, and I've drawn zombies before. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So this is the image is of a mall entrance. Let me go back. It's the book is about a zombie apocalypse, and it takes place in a mall. So it's kind of like The Walking Dead meets Mallrats. Is how he sells it. So we're looking at an exterior of the mall. It's a Clearstream Mall. Above them, on the top of the building, is the 6 main characters enjoying coffee, one of which is throwing a cup down at a horde of zombies that is trying to get into the entrance. So I did these digital pencils, we'll say. So this was all sketched out on Procreate using the iPad Pro with the iPad pencil, and boy, do they have great perspective tools, because it made it a lot easier. So you see the characters looking down at the zombies, and he's throwing the cup, and zombies are meandering towards the entrance. And then from there, I blue lined that, and then I hand inked it. So I don't know if I actually zoom up on this, if you'll see the zooming up. So you'll see like there's cross hatching in there. I used gray tone Copics to add some shading, some wear and tear to the exterior of the mall. Fun little thing is the zombie in the bottom right corner kind of looks like Kevin Smith as Silent Bob, kind of a nod to the whole Mallrats thing. So from there, I took this pen and ink and grayscale washed piece. I scanned it back into the computer, which, I understand it sounds silly to print something out that's digital to hand draw to then scan it back in, but I did so. That's where I, again, in Procreate, use that to color it, and put in the trade dress, which is the names of the people who are involved with it, the number, the logo for Surrounded by Death, and it says Preview Edition. So this was actually, it's going to be available on a website called Global Comics with an X, Comix. Eventually, he's waiting on one more page because he was going to have it ready for Ace, but as soon as that got canceled, he told the other people that were involved with it, I guess there's no rush. So, but that will be the cover that will be on the Global Comics website.
So you digitally colored all of this?
I did. Yep.
What did you use did you use Procreate for that?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, Procreate, it's like a $10 app for the iPad, and it is fantastic. They give you a ton of different brushes, ton of different textures. And with the Apple Pencil, not to plug them because, well, they really don't need it. The response on it's amazing. You can do the lightest touch to pushing down on it, and it tracks the pressure of your pencil. Yeah, no, it's really nice.
Wow, I don't know enough about Procreate, but people always talk about it. It's really good to doodle with, but you're actually creating some significant, like, finished work with it.
Yeah, you definitely can get a finished product.
And yeah, that is great. So what's your normal route? Because you mentioned when you do specific commissions, unless they specify saying that they want to have this digitally done, but by default what you do is you draw it out, ink it, color it all by hand for commission work.
Right.
And
Yep.
what do you do for, say, logos for your graphic design piece? What's your more go-to method of, if somebody said, "Can I hire you to make a coffee cup design or something?"
Those I usually do roughs by hand, and then I'll try to draw a more refined piece, scan that in, and then I use a vector-based program like Illustrator to vectorize it. That way it's a scalable image. That way you could put it on a postcard or a billboard once it's vectorized. So that's what I do for those. Yeah.
So why did you decide, for instance, when you showed us the comic book cover, you didn't want to put that through Adobe, like either Photoshop or Illustrator? You just preferred to go through Procreate on that?
Well, I did it. You can actually export from Procreate to Photoshop. Reason why I did it is my Photoshop is on a Mac Mini from 8 years ago, so it's rather slow going. And where with the iPad I can use the pencil, so it's basically like drawing right on the screen. That I don't have to use. My other form is like a bamboo. What is it? I can't even think of the name. Bamboo. But it's a tablet with a pen that's not as pressure sensitive. But that would require me to basically sit here, draw it here, and look at a screen. Whereas this, I can just do it right on the screen. I can, pinch and expand it. So I can take that image and make it huge. So I'm working on one face that's taking up the entire screen, and then I can move it back to being normal size, or fit the entire image on the screen. So it just makes it a lot easier, quicker. I could do it on my regular computer, but it's not as good. I could have downloaded Photoshop for the iPad. They do have a Creative Cloud, but that costs more per month than the entire Procreate program cost. I think actually no, it was like $8 a month to get Photoshop and something else, I think. And I'm like, or I could spend $10 on Procreate, and it does everything that I'm looking for in one program.
Right.
So part of it came down to monetary value. Well, do I want to pay $8 a month for the rest of the time I have this, or $10 once? And it works the same, like pretty much identical. Yeah.
So for any of the artists or people that are graphic designers that would be watching or listening to this and wanting to kind of get into doing this type of work, what would be some of the advice that you would give to budding artists?
For one thing, it sounds weird, but especially for graphic designers, learn to draw. It sounds really kind of, I don't know, harsh, but I had a lot of people in my class when I was doing graphic design who could do some pretty impressive things on a computer, but if you put a pencil in their hand, they were horrible. Like they really weren't very good. And it was it was interesting. Like I wasn't expecting that, because I guess it's because I started out with just drawing. Like, I didn't get exposed till I think junior year of high school to the idea of graphic art. Like it was all by hand art. And then finally, they opened up a computer lab that was geared towards doing graphic design. And it was like, oh wow, we can do it this way too. That's cool. To be able to put your concepts down without relying on a computer. Especially like some of the things that I do, at least for me, is I'll client in person and exactly how we want it, and then I go and digitize. I go and make it vector and such. So just from that point of view, it definitely helps. It helps be able to talk to your clients and stuff like that. And it's a lot easier than carrying around a computer half the time. But as computers get smaller and smaller, what do I know? You can do quite a bit of work on a cell phone. So at least for me, that's one thing that I always thought was kind of weird, is a bunch of my classmates didn't really know how to draw. Maybe that's just a pet peeve of mine. As far as drawing, get used to doing a lot of figural art. Draw from the human form. You need to know some basic anatomy to be able to draw a person that looks halfway decent. And just because you think that you know how to do it, you still need to put it into practice. Like I still have a tough time with human form at times. I have a weird tendency to elongate people. And I really have to fight myself on that. I tend to make and even my professors in college were like, you stretch people out too much. And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm not saying like, I by no means, think that I have anything where I'm a true professional at it, as far as like, oh, no, he can draw hands amazingly. No, I can't. Feet. Nope. I'm not, I'm not like Rob Liefeld. I'm not hiding them, but, but they're not always the most difficult, or not the easiest thing. Yeah. Talking. So it's practice and practice and practice. And, you get the people that's like, well, I can't draw. It's like, no, you can draw. It's just, you don't want to put in the effort and you don't want to put in the time. Like if I didn't put in as much time drawing as I do, I would only be able to do stick figures and stuff, so saying that you can't draw isn't really an excuse. It's, or I'm no good at it. It's like, no, you have your own style, you have your own abilities. If you really are passionate about it, go out and do it. Like, you don't need, if everyone could draw like Jim Lee, then there wouldn't be a need for Jim Lee. If everyone could draw like Todd McFarlane, there wouldn't be a need for a Todd McFarlane. Things like that. It's like, you see these big names and they're like, well, I can't draw like that. And it's like, fine, no one needs you to. We already have that guy.
That's really true.
I mean, really. And, there's stuff that I draw and I look at it and I'm one of my worst critics. I'll look at it and I'll go, that's garbage. But someone else will be like, that's amazing. It's beautiful. I love it. I want it. I'm like, okay. And, just because you might think, as an artist, might think that it's not refined and not the way you want it to be, it doesn't mean someone else isn't going to love it. So, it's a matter of just putting yourself out there at times. And, it's a very, artwork is very intimate in the sense that you really are putting a lot of action going, that's more than I've heard him speak in a while. Not really.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeff.
Coming to you live from my wife's office.
The quiet.
It's like one of the only rooms that I've got with a lock on it that Aaron will all of a sudden come bursting into, like Kool-Aid Man style. So I could do it downstairs, which I have a lot of cool like artwork and stuff in the background that I could be showing, but I also have no door on that room, so she would just kind of burst in being like, yo, Daddy, what's up?